Hi, I'm Amy Ellis, and I'm really excited to be back with you today for the Love of Sewing Challenge with Baby Lock. I have this really sweet project that I designed, as promised, all about the love of sewing, and each of the blocks symbolizes something different that I love about sewing and quilting. So, let's take a look. First we have the friendship stars. I've made so many friends from sewing and quilting. I can't even explain how many friends I've made. So that one's really special and important. Then there's also just a traditional star quilt or quilt block, and I love the traditional aspects of quilting so much, and so I thought it was important to have a few blocks that remind us of those more cherished patterns. Then these are the links that help us grow together as sewers and quilters. And then we have our heart, our love of sewing here in the center. More links. And then down here at the bottom we have some spools of thread, because you have to have spools of thread, and a lot of them, especially when you're quilting. And then the log cabin block, which is another great traditional block. So I have quilted this on the Destiny, and I want to show you exactly how you can set your machine up to quilt on the Destiny too. And one of the things I really love about the Destiny is that it's not just an embroidery machine. There's a lot of really amazing features built in that are just for quilters and sewists of any sort. So it's really the all-encompassing machine. Anyone can use it for whatever their project. There's a few things that you need to do before you start free motion quilting, so I'm going to show you exactly how you should set up your machine. And you'll notice mine's not even turned on yet because we want to do it with the power off. Okay, to set up your Destiny for quilting, there's a few extra steps, and the Destiny comes with this great treasure box, and it's full of all the extra feet and accessories that you might need. So first, let's talk about feet. When we're quilting, there's a few different ones that you can use, and this is called the Echo Foot. You can see there's slight lines about, this one's 1/4 inch away and this one's 3/8 of an inch away from the needle position. So wherever you have your needle there in the center, this line is 1/4 inch away and this line is 3/8 of an inch away from whatever you might be quilting around. So a lot of people use this to go around the outside of applique, or even some special embroidery. Just depends on what you're working with. So, and these are all nicely labeled in the box, which is great. This one is the C foot. It has a very tiny little hole there, and it's really basic. It's just for free motion quilting. So you can see on some of the other feet there's a lot of extra things, but this one's just plain and simple for free motion quilting. It's perfect. The only thing that makes this one a little bit better, in my opinion, is the open toe. I like to really see where I'm going and where I can go next, and this one offers that. So, and this also has this little mechanism that will go up and down as the needle goes up and down, so it adjusts for that movement. So we're going to put the O foot on, that's this one, and change out the needle plate and clean under the machine. A lot of times new machine owners don't even realize that you should be doing regular maintenance on your machine, and that's especially true when you're free motion quilting, because there's so many little details that can interrupt the tension when you're free motion quilting. So it's important to start with the cleanest slate possible for the best results, in my opinion. So, and it's just a good habit to be in. So this needle plate here has a small hole for the needle instead of the larger hole for when you would be doing a zigzag or other stitch. But this gives you less room for air, for the potential for fabric to get sucked down into the machine. So you don't have to use it, but if you're new to free motion quilting, it's a great idea to start here with this one. So I'm going to switch this out. And again, my machine is off. You should do this with your machine off, even though all that lighting is so nice to have. So, but these screws aren't hard. They might be a little bit tough the first time that you take them off just because they've been factory set, but just find a good position and work them off. I'm always really careful not to drop my screws down into the machine. That would be a big problem. And I can also, at the same time, I'm going to take out my bobbin and my bobbin case and clean up some lint. Can you see that lint in there? This little bit of buildup under here can cause problems, and we don't want problems. We just want a nice clean stitch. So if you're having any trouble and you haven't cleaned underneath here in a while, that would be my first place to look. And the Destiny, you know, it does a great job of stitching through all some of those different issues, but when you get to the point where you're really having trouble, that's when you know you need to clean. So I make it a point when I am starting a new free motion quilting project to always clean up and make sure that my space is tidy underneath the bobbin so that I have the best stitches possible. So we're going to put that needle plate cover back in place and carefully put the screws in place. Once you're more confident quilter, I can totally see leaving on the other presser, the needle plate. This is just a great great option for a beginner, and it just helps you know, give you more room for success. So, and that's what we want, success. So let's look. We've almost got this down. The other thing I'm going to do is take off the foot. I've been using my J foot for piecing and love it. It's just the basic standard foot that comes on the machine, but with all the different settings that we have with the Destiny, it works great. So that one comes off. This is the snap-on feature, but we're going to take off the entire piece. Just going to set that aside and then go ahead and add on the O foot. I always finger tighten first and then clamp it down with the screwdriver just to make sure it's tight. Okay, so that's on. Now the bobbin case goes back in. Look, I have a few little dust bunnies on there, so I'm just going to clean out from under here. And I just like to take care of the machine so that it can work hard for me. That's really what it comes down to. Changing the needle is also a really great idea whenever I'm starting a new free motion quilting project. I keep an old pill bottle full of all the no longer needed pins and needles, and I'll just put on a new needle. This is a 100 by 16 Class A needle. It's universal. Sometimes I look for a top stitch, but having the nice sharp point and the larger eye is good for quilting because that way the thread can move through the eye quickly and easily. So tighten that down. I'm going to change my thread as well so you can see well. With all the space that we have here between the arm and the needle, there's 11 1/4 inches. Can you see that? 11 1/4. That is so much space. There's so much room over here. A lot of machines will stop here and only give you about 6 inches. And that can be a lot of work to wrestle a quilt through. But 11 1/4 inches, there's so much space to quilt here. So I encourage you, I'm going to start with a small project, something that you can easily finish, but then also pull out those flimsies that you haven't been finishing and go ahead and get it quilted on your Destiny. Turning on the Destiny 2, this is your home screen, and for sewing and quilting we need to go to the sewing page, and then to turn off the feed dogs, this is really fun. We just hit one button right here at the top, and then it knows exactly what you've done. It has everything set and ready to go. So we need to make sure to keep it in the middle, so that is perfect right where it's at. It's really simple. You don't have to go find any little switches on the back of your machine. It's just this one press of the button to turn off your feed dogs and drop those. So I like to suggest that quilters begin any free motion session on a little practice sandwich, and this gives you an opportunity to verify that the machine is ready to stitch, and also helps me to practice whatever design I want to stitch out that day. One more thing, these machine quilting gloves. They are not the prettiest things, but they work really well. These fingertips are nice and grippy so that you're able to more easily pick up the fabric or move the fabric on the machine. And they're also just kind of they help your hands from fatigue. So if that's an issue for you, definitely find a pair that work well. These, I believe, are called machiners, and but I've seen people use gardening gloves or you know, like anything with a rubberized tip. So there's definitely something that will work for you if these aren't the right fit. So I'm going to lift my foot and draw out a little bit of extra thread. Whenever I use the cutting feature, which I love and use all the time, it sometimes doesn't leave enough of a tail for drawing up the bobbin thread. I'm going to drop the needle and pull it back up, and then I should have a tiny bit of bobbin thread. I love that the machine has all the tension set and ready for you. It knows exactly what you're doing when you put on that free motion stitch, or when you drop the feed dogs. So all you really need to do is find the right speed that works for you. And some people like to go slower and other people like to go faster. It doesn't matter. Whatever works best for you is perfect. So it's just a matter of finding the right balance for you and your hands and your machine. I always take a couple of stitches to knot the thread before I start moving. Here we can see that my stitches are pretty tight, pretty close together. And then there's a couple of spots where they got a little bit long. It really just takes a little bit of practice and time. I'm just going to do a couple more loops here, but maybe a little bit slower so that you can see what some bigger stitches might look like. It's hard to go slow after I'm used to going fast. But sometimes these bigger stitches might be nice if you're using a heavier thread, or you want a big stitch look. So I'm going to go ahead and clip my thread and show you. This machine really is for the quilter as well as the embroidery lover or the sewing enthusiast. It's really a great machine for whatever you love to sew. And I've had the most fun quilting on it. My mini quilt pattern will be available. You can find it online, amyscreativeside.com or Baby Lock for the Love Sewing Challenge. And I encourage you, if you're looking for a little something to make, just make a block a day or 2 blocks a day. They're kind of addicting because they're so tiny. But and then quilt it up on your destiny. Thanks for sewing with me today. I had so much fun, and I hope you did too. Make sure to stop by amyscreativeside.com for a step-by-step tutorial on all the blocks in my mini quilt, and to share what you've been stitching today. I can't wait to see.